I think we'll start with introducing the speakers. So could you guys please just introduce yourselves one by one, starting with Sarah.
Hi guys, my name is Sarah Nalwalla. I'm from 2016 batch of GS and I have matched in internal medicine in University of Louisville. Excited to share my experience with you guys.
Hi, Vikram. Dr. Vikram, can you please go ahead next?
Hi everyone, my name is Vikram. I hope I'm audible to everyone. I'm from the 2017 batch and recently matched at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences and really excited to share all my experiences with everyone.
Dr. Apoorva, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Apoorva Doshi. I am from GS 2017 batch and I matched into internal medicine at Jacobi. And I'm very excited to share my experiences with you guys.
Dr. Vidhi.
Hi everyone, I'm Vidhi Pancholi. I'm from the 2018 batch and I'm actually internal medicine at Jacobi Medical Center. So I hope you guys get all the info you need in the session.
Dr. Pritika is also here.
Hi everyone, I'm Pritika Mall. I'm from the 2017 batch and I matched in internal medicine at the Charleston Area Medical Center in Charleston, West Virginia. And I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to getting to know you guys.
Dr. Tejusv, can you please introduce yourself?
Hey all, I'm Tejusv. I'm from the 2017 batch. I matched into Psychiatry at Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn. Good to see you all. Let's hope we can answer all your questions.
Dr. Manan is also here with us.
Hey, I'm Manan. I matched in psychiatry at the University of Pittsburgh and I'm from 2013 batch. So looking forward to this discussion. Let's see. Yeah.
And we also have Dr. Kasvi.
Hi everyone, my name is Kasvi Shah. I matched Pediatrics at Children's Hospital of Michigan. I'm excited to meet you guys and talk to everybody.
And lastly, I think Dr. Rhea is here. Yeah, she's here. Dr. Rhea.
Hey everyone, I'm Rhea Trivedi. I'm from the 2017 batch. I matched internal medicine at the University of Louisville. Excited to share my experience and help you guys. And I'm sorry in advance if my network's a little spotty, but let's get this session started with.
We have introduced all our speakers today. I'll just share the PPT and Dr. Vikram can then take over to start with the session. Is it visible? Yeah, so I invite Dr. Vikram to start with the session. Today's session will cover step 3, the postdoc, and the match application and interview, which will be the major chunk of the session. So I now hand over to Dr. Vikram to start with the step 3 part.
Before we begin, we need just expand the screen, make it full screen if you can.
Yeah, and you can click on the minimize button also for the. Yep.
Yeah, sure. Just a minute. Just share the Canva PPT. Just a minute.
Yes, Vinit, you can start presenting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, over to you, Dr. Vikram.
Thanks, Sunil. So I'll be talking about step three to you guys. And basically, step three is something that is not necessary for you to apply to the math cycle and get interviews, but it is a mandatory thing for you if you want to get an H-1B visa. Step three is similar to step two, but it is a two-day exam which is to be given in the US. Um, and for to apply to step three, you have to be CFMG certified, and after that, you have to go to FFMB to start your application for step three. Step three is, like I said, not mandatory to apply, but it really does help for you to improve your application because it is getting more and more competitive nowadays. So the timeline for step three, if you want to do it before you apply, is ideally at the end of August so that you get your results by the time you submit your application. But if you want to avail for an H-1B visa for a program, you can also give your step three after you apply. That is during the interview season, somewhere around October or November. That way, you can update the programs that sponsor H-1B visas about your achievement, and that can also help you secure an interview at times. I've seen people who have given step three after they applied, and after updating programs about their step three, they have started to get more interviews from programs. Step three is two-day exam. Like I said, the main difference between steps three and the other steps is it consists of CCS cases, which is a part of day two, wherein it's not going to be an MCQ kind of a thing, where it is going to be somewhat similar to what you experience in a hospital, where you will be given a patient scenario and you have to assess and diagnose the patient and try to make reasonable clinical decisions as for the patient care. The day one of step three is going to be a 7-hour exam, similar to step one, but it's going to be only 6 blocks. And the day two is going to be 9 hours long, where the first half is going to be MCQ and the second is going to be consisting of the CCS cases. And as far as the content of step three goes, it depends. It depends on your step one and step two prep because it takes questions from both places. And for preparation, we will later discuss more about how much time is required to prepare for step three.
Any of the panelists would like to add on their experience, like the exam day experience about the day two or anything else?
Yeah, I think I can add something here. So as Vikram said, you can give it even after you apply for match, and in order to match, it's not mandatory to give step three. Like I know people who have had average profiles, good profiles, good average profiles, and they still match without the step three. The real benefit, of course, lies in getting an H-1B, and for that, they advise you to have the results ready before the match day. So I gave it after my interviews were over, and in I would say first week of February, and they just approved my H-1B petition recently. And also, don't stress too much about this exam. It's not as difficult as step two or step one. It is a lot more easier, and just focus on the CCS cases that they have, and also a bit on biostats. I think those two alone should be able to get you a decent score, which again does not really matter for ranking or for interview. Most programs care that you pass the exam, and if you want to go for a competitive fellowship, they do. Some programs advise that you have a 213 step three, but again, that's not very difficult to get.
Okay, so How about what's the minimum score or something, the range that one should expect? Although it's not important, but just not to have a red flag after step 2.
So yes, it obviously depends on your step 2 score as well. Like if you have a step 2 of a super high step 2 and then you just badly pass your step 3, that depending on the PD might be problematic, might not be. But so yeah, a safe score to aim for would be 230, and anything above that is just bonus. Like it's not really going to make or break your case.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Thank you, both the speakers. I think step 3 is a small topic, and probably the questions will be taken during the Q&A session.
Also,
we now
Beneath, one second.
Yeah.
There are some small community programs who you might miss out on, especially in psychiatry, or like some small programs which want a step 3 pass before you apply for the match. Because sometimes what happens is if their residents don't pass step 3 in their first year, they might end up losing a resident. So they prefer to give interviews to those people who passed their step 3 already. So that's a benefit. So you'd get more interviews that way.
Okay. So anybody, what's the importance of step 3 for IM programs? Like, do they really care about it? Would anybody like to take up that?
Hi. I would also like to add that if you do not have a step 2 score that you really wanted for you to get eligible for university program, because a lot of them have internal filters, step 3 is a good opportunity for you to show that, yes, even if I do not have a super high step 2 score, working on step 3 really tells the PD in your application that it might be due to some situation that they and you are academically as sound as they want you to be.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So I think we have majority of things covered for step 3. I would like to proceed to the next thing, that's postdoc and research. So I'd like to invite Dr. Apoorva, who has had experience with postdoc before and has done a postdoc here. So yeah, Dr. Apoorva, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Vinit. So yeah, about postdoc. So what postdoc really means, that it's more of an umbrella term, meaning that you're going to be doing research for at least a year, and the kind of research that you do is very variable. So the postdoc experiences can vary a lot among people. Like for instance, I had a clinical postdoc. Some people have a basic science postdoc, and even in a clinical postdoc, you could be expected to do. You could be expected to enroll patients in studies and then work alongside on research papers as well. For me, it was a lot different in the sense that I was mainly working with their institutional database and then writing abstracts and papers. And so the most important question is, why should you do a postdoc or why should you not do a postdoc? For me, the reason for doing a postdoc was trying to apply for, or trying to have a reasonable chance at upper tier AMD heavy programs. And I was also able to get interviews from such programs, but then when the ranking process came, when the match day came, those programs did not end up taking any visa requiring IMDs for this year, and then my mentors also reached out to the PDs, and they said that because of the prompt situation this year, a lot of universities are not, the research-heavy universities are not sponsoring visas. But even with that, I think having a postdoc gives you a very strong chance at matching onto IMD-heavy programs as well, because at the end of the day, it is still one more thing for them to compare you against somebody who does not have a postdoc. So, and other benefits of this, it are if you are somebody who wants to go for a fellowship like me, I think doing some research before you start your residency gives you time to build connections, and also gives time and also gives you research experience to help you doing your fellowship application. And about how long should you do one? I would say for internal medicine, 1 year is enough. If you're going for beyond 1 year, it can still improve your chances about going into the upper tier universities. But I would say, like personally for me, that was not that much of a big advantage with respect to an extra year which I was going to give. And about how to go about getting positions. So yes, the best method is cold emailing. Like you should ideally have like a short draft of mail ready, and you should just mail it to all the like different PIs at different universities. A lot of them will not reply to you, but some of them will reply, and it's also not like that. Like a lot of times you will be getting replies like 3-4 months later when you applied. So let's say if you want to start from July or like June of next year, right now would be the best time to apply for a postdoc. Or I would say best time would be to apply it in January, starting around January, because once people match in March, a lot of positions do open up, and also sometimes people who have signed up earlier do end up canceling. Like I had an opportunity where with this PI whom I reached out on LinkedIn, and he replied to me the next day that, okay, I have a position open because one of my fellows canceled, but it's a 2-year position, so you would have to commit for 2 years. So, and I did not end up taking it because I did not want to do a 2-year postdoc. But the point was to show that you can get opportunities by cold emailing people. Another way to get positions is also to speak with your attendings during your clinical rotations in the US, and also reaching out to some friends or seniors who might have had a position and now they are leaving, they have an opening. So these things help you get the opportunity for a postdoc, and and the type of skills which they are looking for. I would say it's always great to have some publications. If you don't, it's still not that they wouldn't take you, but then but then it's less likely that they will give you a funded position, because if they are funding you, then they would expect you to be on top of a lot of things. So keep that in mind as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all for now.
Okay, so could you please elaborate more on the recent update that's J1 research is getting converted into H1B without a waiver?
Oh yes, so yes, so this is again something which I benefited a lot from. So when I was starting my postdoc, I was on a J1, and at the time, J1 to H1B was practically not possible. So I did not even give step 3 because of that. But somewhere around last year in December, they changed this rule where unless your position is funded by the US government directly or the Indian government, I mean, if that is not the case, then your J1 can be converted into H1B if you are an Indian citizen. So why is this important? It's because a lot of times before, a lot of people would not take up a postdoc because they strictly wanted an H1B for whatever reason. Now you have the opportunity to switch over to H1B, and that can also impact how you are going to be, signaling your programs or ranking or making your rank order list, which I think we are going to come back to later.
Yeah, we are going to come back. So I'll just ask Dr. Manan to I would like to invite Dr. Manan. He has done a 2.5 years of research here before joining in residency, and he has matched into a research track. So I invite him to talk about his postdoc experience and also about the research track and what is it. So yeah, over to you, Dr. Manan.
Thanks, Vineet. So I actually had a little bit of an unconventional route. I did a year of general surgery residency in India before I decided to move to USMLE and psychiatry. And it definitely, like Apoorva said, that it takes a while to get a postdoc position, and especially if you're looking for a funded position. And a lot of times it's not very feasible to get a funded position directly. I was lucky enough that I could. With respect to a research track, I felt that so the research track is basically meant to turn out physician scientists or future principal investigators. And I felt that a longer postdoc definitely helped me get there with respect, since I started in the end of 2022.
And I had initially decided to just do it for a year and apply, but then I decided I think if I want to match at an Ivy League or an equivalent, I definitely felt a longer postdoc helped me a lot. I could get publications in much higher impact journals, attend much high impact, a lot higher impact conferences where I could meet program directors of the research track residencies. So I think one negative point of that was that I did not get any interviews from any of the community programs because my profile was very research oriented. So I think that was definitely a fallback, and that reduces the number of that reduces the safety net that you have with respect to the number of interviews that you're getting, because there are only so many programs that have a research track. But the good point is that all the universities that have a research track are really good universities. So I think the basic difference between a normal and a normal clinical track and a research track is that you have electives during your second or third year. For psychiatry, it's a 4-year residency. So during third and fourth year, we have a lot of time that's dedicated to electives. And that amount of time can be dedicated, or you can route the time for just research. So that's how a research track residency works. And it helps you get more funding with respect to the amount of conferences that you can attend. And more importantly, if you want to learn resources, if you want to learn more courses or attend more academic have more academic resources at your disposal. And also, if you want to do a pilot study as a feasibility when you're applying for your bigger grants, so it gives you sort of pilot fund to go over that and cover the basics of that. So I think that's pretty much it about the research track. It's sort of niche. It does reduce your chances of getting interviews from a broader set of community programs. So it does have, when your profile becomes too research oriented, that does have some cons to it with respect to having a safety net of number of interviews. But yeah, I think for now, I think this is just a basic overview about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Manan. We are like lucky to have you this year, like someone with a research track, and get to know your experience. So, any of the panelists would like to add on any of the points that were talked about on postdoc and research?
Also, just wanted to add one major resource that helped me when looking for postdoc position was Twitter. A lot of these PIs would post about their vacancies on their Twitter page. Most of these big PIs would have their personal Twitter or Twitter page for their lab, and they tend to retweet all of their colleagues' vacancies as well. And I actually found my position on Twitter. I was having a very hard time looking for positions because and Twitter actually helped me. Twitter and LinkedIn both. Twitter helped me more personally, but I think they are better ways. They are more efficient with respect to the fact that you reach out to them, introduce yourself over Twitter, and then you send them an email. So it just increases your chances of getting a reply. Otherwise, cold emailing definitely helps, but if you have introduced yourself on any other platform before, that does help a little bit. Even if it's just a negative email, you can always reach out to them for mentorship and say what are the points that you would want to, what they would want to see an improvement in your profile, and you just get any sort of feedback, to be honest.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'll like to ask you, both of you, like Dr. Apoorva and Dr. Manan, like how many months of uncertainty was there before you got your postdoc positions, like the anxiety period I would talk about?
For me, it definitely took a year, because at that point, when I started it, we were just coming out of COVID. So it took a long time. I think it definitely took about a whole year of applying. But again, as Apoorva mentioned, I think the most efficient period to apply is after January. Like after March is when a lot of the grants they get renewed in May and June, and that's when people would be sure that they have some funding, and they would put up all of these advertisements that they are looking for postdocs or research associates or anything of that sort. And the other point is that, again, a lot of vacancies do open up once they have the match. So I was also applying in maybe October and November, which did not help. So I think that was not a very efficient use of my time. But it took me a year, about a year. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was a bit different because so I started in January of 2024 when I started emailing people, and in March, one of my friends reached out to me who had matched at a program, and her spot was empty, and she was just letting me know, like, if you want it, I can recommend you, but then you would have to say yes when, like, I mean, then you wouldn't be able to like backtrack later. So at that time, I only had one other opportunity, which was for 2 years and unfunded. So I was obviously not going to take that one. But this one was only for 1 year. So I said, yes, I'll take it. And once I said yes to this position, I also got offers from a lot of other 2-year positions, which I had emailed prior. So there was a bit of a spell in Feb and March, which when I only got negative replies, but then after match day, I got a lot of responses, and I just had to say no to most of them.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So I think both of the speakers have covered most of the points regarding the postdoc. If anybody in the panelists would like to add, please do.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. So as someone who was actively looking for a postdoc and like couldn't find a position, I would recommend, like how Apoorva said, that reach out to people who are doing postdocs, because that wasn't something that was actively available to me at that time. But after I think that point, a lot of people from GS started doing postdocs. So we actually have a lot of people who have done postdocs. A lot of them leave their positions because they've matched. I would highly recommend people to reach out to those people so that at least they can get a foot in the door and get an interview to do a postdoc, because you're cold emailing so many people, it somewhere gets lost in the inbox. So at least if you know somebody who is doing a postdoc, it is worthwhile to reach out to them and try to get that interview at least for the postdoc.
Also, I would also like to add to that, even if you know that that person's position is now taken, sometimes people know about other PAs as well who might have had an open position, or at least who could recommend those names to you for you to just, shoot your shot.
Yeah, so that was great on part of the networking and to get the postdocs. So that probably, as we have a very good network and many people have been going to the US since years, so it would probably help the future generations. Thank you all the speakers. So I'd like to get on to the next things, and hence give me a minute. I'd like to invite Dr. Kasvi to talk about the ERAS application, the documentation process, and yes, and what are the 10 experiences that one should include in his or her ERAS application.
Hi, everybody. So I think the slide is about like what to do during the application year. I personally, after graduating, did like an observership along with a job. So and tried to finish as much of my bond as I could. So yeah, I tried to do that. But you could do like other externships, volunteering thing, non-bonded positions, just anything to keep you busy. And also, I think during the interview season also, it's, I think, decently important to do something, because that keeps being asked during the interviews, like they keep asking, what are you doing now since you graduated? It's been a year, or how many ever months it has been. What have you been doing? So I think always do something, or at least pretend to do something. Now moving on to the documentation part, I like to segregate these into like documents needed for ECFMG verification and documents needed for your ERAS application. So for the ECFMG verification, you would need your step 1, step 2, OET, and your diploma. These come in parts. So the very first thing would be pathway approval, for which you would need a letter of good standing from Maharashtra Medical Council. So once you've finished your internship and you've received your permanent registration, you can apply for your logs, but be in mind that logs need to be valid for 90 days. If there's something like, make sure that you apply at least 90 days before your pathways start. Otherwise, you'll have to reapply. And your OET. So you need your logs and your OET for pathway approval. Then you need your degree to get your credentials verified. And once you have your credentials verified, your pathway approved, and your step 1 and step 2, you will be ECFMG certified. So that covers the ECFMG certification part, which in turn is needed for your step 3. So that is another thing to consider when you're figuring out your logistics for step 3, how the year pans out and when you will be ECFMG certified, only because after that can you book your step 3. Now, ECFMG is done. Coming to your ERAS application. So the ERAS application, first your ERAS token will open. You will make your AMC account if you don't already have one. On there, you can upload your MSPE, you can upload your transcripts, and you can upload your photo. So those are the 3 things that you have to upload. MSPE you take from UG section, Manali ma'am is there right now. Transcripts also. So what I had done for transcripts, when I was getting my credentials verified, you upload your degree on the ERAS portal, and it gets sent to college, and college has to do a bunch of things, get your documentation approved, and they send it back to ECFMG to say that yes, she is a student, her credentials are verified, and a part of that are your transcripts. So I use those same transcripts, and because they are of a more recent date, so I just uploaded those. When I had to upload my transcripts, so that was one. MSPE also, you can get it done right now because you need to have that uploaded well in time before September. And your photo. So those are the 3 things that you have to upload. And then comes your ERAS application. ERAS application is now like, so each year you get like a rough draft of your ERAS application, which you can start filling by now, like starting now. So you have an idea how many characters each section is, because there's a limit to each, how you want to frame it and everything. So the first part is your personal information. Then comes a geographic preference and a setting preference. I think we can talk more about that when we're talking about how to build your ERAS CV. And so when I was considering geographic preferences, there is no, like you need to select any preferences or you don't. I personally chose geographic preferences based on just the sheer number of programs that there were in that particular geographic section. So what happens with all the other sections that you don't, I don't know how to say it, apply to, they don't come to know if you're applying geographically or not, but only the ones that you do apply to geographically, they get like a short note mentioning your reasons why you want that. So I chose the most, like the 3 most IMG friendly ones and the ones that have most programs. And I did benefit, I think, because I did get a considerable number of interviews from like the New York, New Jersey region and the Midwest region. So I think it played to my benefit. And then comes the setting preference. Setting preference is like an urban versus rural versus semi-urban thing. I personally chose that I didn't have a preference, and I just said that I would be, I'm equipped to like work well in any of these settings, and I would be happy to work anywhere. So that's what I did. I think I might be digressing from the documentation part, but I think everything regarding the ECFMG documentation is done, and we can probably move ahead with the ERAS, and like other speakers can also join in and
So,
speak whenever
with
they want
respect to
to.
the documentation, I just had like a couple of things to add.
Yeah.
Since if everyone out here is from KEM, then like the few things that can be a roadblock are your credentials verification. So during my time, they asked me to do like a 100 rupee bond paper mentioning the details of my bond, saying that, okay, I'm going to pay my bond or serve my bond. And that was the only way Marathi sir actually did my credentials verification. So keep that in mind. The other thing with respect to documentation is in May right now, you have to wait for the pathways to open. Pathways, I think, open around May end. Correct me if I'm wrong. So now would be a good time to get OET over with, because OET takes about 2 weeks to come. So the minute pathways open, you should have your step 1, step 2, OET, and your credentials verified. So the only thing that is stopping you from applying for ECFMG certification is your pathway. So once pathway is open, you can pay the pathway application fee, and within like a day or two, your pathways get approved. And if everything else is on your record, you get ECFMG certified automatically, and it comes to you like at your doorstep within a week. So which is why like right now, before pathways open, get your OET done with. If you were like I forget which batch majorly applying this year, but if you're done with your intern like last year, then I'm sure most of you should have your ICC and your degrees. So then now would be a good time to get your credentials verified. So yeah, that was ECFMG certification, and just timeline, what you should keep in mind while getting these documents from college. And the other thing is, right now, what else you can do is if you are applying for internal medicine, then you all can get your IM cell ready. IM cell, which is the internal medicine standard evaluation letter. There's a standard format. You can ask any one of us to send you like a editable version of it. You just have to make changes according to your profile, according to your qualities, and you get Emma and Sir to sign it. It's pretty standard, straightforward. Just talk to Shraddha ma'am. And for my year, I had uploaded everybody's IM cell and Emma and LOR. So most likely Shraddha ma'am is going to ask one of you guys to do that. So that is another thing you all can get done now before the ERAS token becomes available, and you need to actively start working on your ERAS application. So these things you can get done in May and June, because June end is when your token becomes available. So that is when you inevitably will have to start working on your ERAS application. So these extra documents you can get over with now. With respect to MSP as well, there's like a standard format. Again, you can ask one of us if you don't have it already, and you just make changes in that, put your name everywhere. And obviously the subjective part in MSP, you will have to make your own stuff, because I'm not sure how much programs actually end up reading like a 13-page document, but if they do, it shouldn't look like it's plagiarized. So like make a few changes here and there, but get that done with as well. MSPE and transcripts you upload to your Oasis account. Medical school degree for credentials verification, you upload on another link. And once you have your MSP and your transcripts on OASs. Once you get your ERAS token, the accounts will get linked. So those two documents will already show up on your documents page on your ERAS application. So yeah, so these things you all can get done now, if not done already. This is what we had done. I think we had given OET in April. I had my degree in February. So I had done all of my degree credentials verification by March. April, I gave OET. And May, I was just waiting for pathways to open so that I could have everything on board for being ECFMG certified. So I hope like documents wise, these things were clear. And obviously, because now if we're
Also,
talking about just KEM people, yeah,
no, finish.
Sarah,
I
go
thought
ahead.
you were done.
No, yeah. So the other extra documents, like if you are coming from if you're from KEM and if you're applying for internal medicine, would be like an IMCell or yeah, I think that's about it. And oh yeah, get your photo taken. Like that's one thing that you can take off your list because there's so much more that comes in July, August, September. So you don't want to like scramble last minute to get your photos done. I think photos do make a good first impression. Maybe biased opinion, but like just get that over with right now when you still have the breathing space to do it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add another thing for people who are extending their internship for, if they want to do electives or observerships or whatever. Bear in mind that, the degree comes only twice by MUHS in a year. One is in Feb and one is in July. So make sure that if you're applying for this cycle, like you should have mostly already gotten your degree. And if you haven't, like be on top of it, like keep calling them to release your degree earlier, because otherwise they just take a lot of time. So like keep calling MUHS and like following up for them to release your degree as soon as possible. So I think that's one thing that you should bear in mind. And if you are extending your internship, if you're applying, say, for the year after, then make sure you complete your internship by December. So like you get your degree by Jan or Feb, and then you're easy for your degree.
Also, one more thing to add. There are non-ACGME. Sorry, Rhea, you were saying something.
Yeah, no, about what Sarah said, like 2017 batch, there were a couple of people who matched last year as well. So the same year that our internship got over is when they applied. So for them, our internship got over with no extensions in May end. In that case, like according to the MUHS timeline, they get their degrees in July. So they were on top of it. I think one of my friends also went to Nasik to get her degree as soon as the MUHS convocation was over. So if you are in that position, don't take these things lightly, because again, when you're depending on your college or on MUHS for any documentation, keep enough buffer days. Things that are in your hands, you can get done quickly and on your time. But these things like your MSPE and your credentials verification, diploma, those things you have to be on top of it.
So what I was saying is, with respect to doing things while you're waiting for the match, while you're waiting to start your residency, instead of doing a bond, I chose to do a fellowship, which is a paid J1 alien physician position, similar to like that of residency. It's a non-ACGME fellowship, which is paid, and I get to talk about this experience in my interviews. So if you're okay with like breaking the bond, you can definitely look up for fellowships that you can do after completing MBBS, and just email people. And there are lots of universities which you can find. So I did like a public psychiatry fellowship, and they want an MD candidate to like do this fellowship. So I hope like in medicine or in like family medicine, there are like more programs which do that. So that can be a great boost to your profile as well.
I also wanted to add something
doing a
regarding the
bond is
timeline of like regarding the timeline of getting the degree, so I'm from 2018 batch. I finished my internship last year in May, so it was a very tight timeline for me. So what happens is after internship, you get a degree form from college, and they will ask you to mail it to MUHS. But I would highly advise go to Nashik and give it to MUHS because you don't know mailing ke baad it may be like stuck in their office or something. You should go there and give it to them physically, and after that you have to like call them weekly or twice in a month to just verify ki is my degree, are you guys printing my degree, is the process still on track, and then they will like hand out the circular for mini convocation, which in our case I think it happened on 22nd or 23rd July. So you should go to Nashik physically to get the degree because you can't trust them to send it to your college on time. In my case, I had my step two on 31st July. So I asked my parents to go to Nashik. You can like obtain an NOC from college and give it to your parents that since I'm ill or any reason, my parents are coming to collect it. So that way you get it on time because uh, degree is non-negotiable. You need that to get ECFMG certified and get everything in order.
Yeah, so that was really insightful, and that would probably answer one of the big questions which one of the like students from my batch has regarding the timeline. So thank you, Rhea, and thank you, Dr. Vidhi. Dr. Rhea, I would like to since you have started with the tips and tricks for what to do every month, could you just brush through the entire timeline and what to do every month? It would be really great.
Right. Okay. So that just, I think there are 6 people other than the speakers and the organizers. Are all of you applying this year so that, we can I can cater my answer according to that?
Yeah, so I think
Okay. In any case, yeah. Vineet, go ahead.
no, please go ahead. I was just asking the attendings to really speak up and tell if they are. But you just go on and tell the rough what is to be done, what
Okay.
must not to be done.
Okay, cool. So, since we're in May already, I would say get all your documentation done right now. So, ECFMG certification. So, like Kasvi put it, for ECFMG certification, you need step 1, step 2, pathway approval, and credentials verification. So, for these 4 things, I'm assuming that step 1 and step 2 should be done by now. If not, get step 2 done ASAP because I think there's a delay middle of the year in getting your score back. Okay, so I think most people are applying the next year or later. Okay, cool. So that we can actually backtrack a little bit. Yeah, so for my year, last year, May end was when pathways were opening. So what I had in mind was to get everything ready for my ECFMG certification and to only keep my pathway approved. So step 1 and step 2 was done out of the way. I got my degree in February. So I think March was when I got my degree in hand. So I was able to upload it for credentials verification. I also started working on my MSPE around April because I knew that there's a lot of writing, there's a lot of creative power that goes into making your ERAS application. So I wanted to get done with as much writing possible before the ERAS tokens were available. So April, I worked on my MSPE and I gave my OET in the beginning of April. So I had my result, I think, in the 3rd week of April, if I'm not wrong. So step 1, step 2, OET credentials were verified by April end. I had just working on my MSPE. May was when I had properly sat down and completed my MSPE. I completed my IM cell. I had started studying for step 3 as well. And all this while I was working, I was serving my bond. But it like I was just, there was plenty of time for me to work on these things. May end, pathways opened, so I was able to get pathway approval. And like I said, once your pathway is approved, and if you have step 1, step 2, and your credentials verified, then your ECFMG certification comes within a week to 10 days of your pathway being approved. So by mid-June, I was ECFMG certified. That's when I started my step 3 application, because you can only apply for step 3 after you are ECFMG certified. And because I had time, I wanted to get step 3 over with before the math cycle, which again, like we've already discussed, is not a prerequisite, but I just had the time and I wanted to get rid of like all USMLE exams. So June I did that. June I was studying for step 3. June end was when ERAS tokens were available. So I purchased the ERAS token. I made AMC account and I downloaded the free editable PDF for the ERAS application. And then August end is when I gave my step 3. So July, August was when I started working on my ERAS application. I started drafting my personal statement. I would recommend starting on your personal statement a little bit earlier. I was very confident that I will be happy with like my 4th or 5th draft, which is why I started in June or July, but I would recommend starting in May. So May would be, I've lost track of what I'm saying, so I hope someone is keeping track of that. But I think I was in June now. June would be a good time to start on your personal statement. July, you could start working on your ERAS application, just typing things out, deciding on your 10 experiences, studying for step 3 if you plan to give it before application year. August, I focused mainly on step 3 because I was like, okay, it's still an exam and I need to pass and I do decently well. So I decided to keep my personal statement and my ERAS application on hold. But what I did while studying was an observership for like 2 weeks, and I also started researching programs. So the way I did programs was I gathered like a bunch of people. We were 4 or 5 of us. We divided the states and we're like, we know what we want. We had made like a list of criteria, and we started researching programs that way. And we compiled all of that into one Google Sheet. So I think that was helpful because it's maddening to go over like 600 internal medicine programs. I'm not sure about the other specialties, but IM has like an obscene number of programs. So it's good to like divide these things with your friends. So that's what I did in August. Bear in mind, by this time I was ECFMG certified. I had a step 3 date. I had started working on my personal statement. I had my MSP done. I had my photo taken. I had my IM cell ready. Once my ERAS token was available, June end, that's when I started also approaching the LOR writers and authors. So every 1 week, 2 weeks, I sent them an email saying, hey, we talked about this during my rotation. And now that my ERAS token is available, I would really appreciate if you could write me a strong letter of recommendation, blah, 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 blah. So I started working on that I think first week of July onwards, and I continued that every 2 weeks. August end, I gave my step 3. September, then I put my head down and finalized my ERAS application. Every day I sent my ERAS application to mentors and seniors to go through. I had already shown my personal statement to a couple of seniors, I think in August, because I had written like a couple of drafts by then. So I would again recommend starting your personal statement in June or July. So September I had kept solely for the application. I do think taking your time in writing your ERAS application is important. You don't want to make grammatical errors. You don't want to sound monotonous. You don't want to sound like you've not put in an effort. I know it's like the most overlooked thing, because you'll think, okay, you have a good step 2 score, you have research experience, you have good LORs, but I think the whole thing about the match is selling yourself, and your 10 experiences and your entire ERAS application is a good way to sell yourself. So I would say give it some time. I had started like working on it in July. I had abandoned it in August, but September again, I focused mainly on my ERAS application and finalizing my programs. Yeah, we come to September end and you're on your way to make your math submission. I think I covered the entire year from Jan to September, maybe half as hardly, but I hope you got the point.
Yeah, that was really a detailed explanation, like a big overview of everything. So, like taking points from this big talk that Dr. Rhea told, I'd like to ask Dr. Kasvi to like go through, like tell us about the 10 experiences and how to put them up and what to put them.
I just wanted to add
I
one
feel-
thing super quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
About LORs, there was this one question about like, if your elective was way before your when you plan to apply, it does make sense to buy an ERAS token even in the year before you're applying and upload the LOR then. You just have to make sure that you certify and submit your ERAS application, and certifying and submitting your ERAS application does not mean you've applied to programs. Like that's a different process, and it will not mark you as somebody who's like trying to match for the second time, and all of your LORs will transfer to your next ERAS token, like the next year basically. And another thing is I would encourage people to start like as soon as you get your ERAS token to just like start messaging your LOR writers, because I've definitely had experiences where they took like forever to reply. I've been like ghosted by one of my LOR writers. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah,
and
adding
also
to the
add-
LOR.
And also like
Um,
keep
Who's going first?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, you can go.
Okay, fine. So adding to the LOR thing, even if you don't end up, like I had done my electives quite earlier. I didn't take an ERAS token, whatever, last year. But you have to make sure that you keep in touch with your LOR writers. So even if you don't end up taking the ERAS token, say earlier, just make sure you're in touch with them. You'll wish them on the holidays, like hope you're doing well, and update them about your life, like your journey. I have passed step 2, I've passed step 3, like just keep them in the loop. And then I would say that when you're requesting to write, like if you're asking for your attendings to write you an LOR, it's very important that you speak about your experience with them. So in your email, you're saying like, okay, doctor, this, I'm requesting you to write me an LOR. Write a paragraph as to what work you did with them and what you learned from them, because that's how they will be able to write you a strong LOR. Because obviously they have so many students, they're not going to remember exactly what you did, but you have to tell them that I did this, I did this. So I interacted with these residents. Like make sure you're keeping the names, what you're doing, and always attach your CV, like not your ERAS CV, but your like CV that you're keeping updated for everything in general, along with your along with the request for your LOR. I think that's very important that you make sure you share your experience with them so that they can write you a strong LOR.
Also,
So
to
good.
add on to
Go ahead, Apoorva. I can chat later. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so whenever you ask somebody for an LOR, even during your rotation or in email, always, I mean, and this seems silly, but always make a point to mention that you're asking for a strong LOR. But for some reason, some people, I mean, I have heard of experiences where attendings have uploaded mediocre LORs, and it happens. Also, when you ask for an LOR, so a lot of times the attendings will ask for your personal statement as well. So it does not have to be your final residency PS, but do have one draft ready, which is in good English, and it outlines most of your major goals. And adding on to what Sarah said, when you're putting in the details of what you did, also like make a point of mentioning the number of patients you worked with. So that also adds some degree of specificity to your LOR. Like, okay, this guy works with, X or Y number of patients. And yes, and if you are lucky enough that in some cases the attendings do share a draft of the letter with you, it happens with people. Try to look for the way you know that it's a strong letter is something you'll obviously get from reading it, but also a lot of times they'll mention that this student is in the top X% of the ones I have interacted with and stuff like that. So that's how you know that the letter is a strong one. But you'll only know that if the attending decides to share it with you himself or herself.
I think I just wanted to add on what Apoorva said, and the same point, that have a draft of your personal statement ready. That helps the attending get, because when you're writing an LOR, there's so much more to write than just your performance in the rotation. They do want to write a background of where you come from and a little bit about your life experiences as well, because that builds on to the credibility and sort of the connection that they have with you. So I think that definitely helps a lot. And again, any objective markers, some of my attendings, they wanted me to make the draft. So in that, I would just add that this person was in, I would not fill it up, just dash percentile of all the US and all the MD students that they've worked with, because that again adds to credibility, and it's sort of an objective marker rather than superlatives that they might write. So, yeah.
One more
And
thing
also,
I wanted
just
to
to add
add.
on these points. Sorry, Pritika, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So in terms of like networking also, it's very important to stay in touch with your attendings. Like Sarah, I had also done my electives in 2023. And obviously I had talked about letters of recommendation during my electives, but throughout that whole year, for almost a year, I had kept in touch with all of my attendings. And I would, even if you have nothing to update them on, just like pick a holiday and like wish them and send them an email every 2 months. Be polite. And then when you're requesting for an LOR as well, when you do your rotation itself, you should make like a list of things that you have learned, you have seen, you have done, so that you can circle back on that when you're requesting for an LOR after your tokens are available. I think that's very helpful. Like I know some of my attendings, they had asked me to let them know what points I'd like to include. Some of them had shown me the letter of recommendation. Some of them told me to write it. So even when you have to write your own letter of recommendation, it helps when you have made a list of things that you have seen in that rotation. Yeah, I think everything else was covered by my colleagues.
Yeah, Dr. Pritika, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is on a different topic. This is especially aimed towards IM applicants. There's a huge number of programs. So when you're narrowing down your list of programs, I think two things you should have in mind before you start is to decide what are your non-negotiables, what are your priorities in the programs you want, and secondly, set a budget and figure out like how many programs you can apply to, because it adds up very fast. So when you have those two things in mind, you can start narrowing down programs faster, and it makes the process a little easier.
Yeah, thank you. Since we are on the point of programs, I'd like to invite Dr. Tejusv to let us give us insights about what are the types of programs and how to choose regarding your preferences for the programs.
And another thing I wanted to add before we move on, sorry. I know like networking is very important and you should definitely keep in touch with them, but I made the mistake of not doing that. I realized too late that I haven't been in touch with my attendings or my residents. It's okay. If you're in this position, it's okay. It's never too late to start. Just reminding you all that it'll be fine. Start now, start afresh. It's fine. Just remind them, update with whatever you've been doing since the rotation, and just it's never late.
Also,
and also,
Yeah.
yes, please keep in touch with your residents as well. Like if you worked in a program with a residency there, and if you worked with residents, definitely keep in touch with your residents. Like I did that, and I think that really helped me because all of my residents who I worked with put in a good word. At least that's what they told me, and I got an interview from that place. So not just attendings, but anyone that you worked with, it's always a good idea to keep in touch with them.
Also, keep in mind that for IMGs, the time it takes for the letter uploader to upload the letter and it to show on your application for the program is ERAS calls it 5 business days, but it is something that they do manually. So like towards the end deadline, like this year, it happened when some people's letters were not even uploaded like a week later. A week later, all the applications went in. So just keep that in mind and make a point to like have all your letters uploaded by mid-September or like 14 days before whatever the deadline is.
Adding to what Kasvi said, yes, it's definitely okay if you haven't been in touch, you can restart. And one good tip is that often in a lot of programs, you get an ID from like a student ID at the hospital that you're working at, which includes a photo. And a tip that I was given is just like include a scan of that or just include a photo when you're emailing them, because that also helps jog their memory about you.
Oh yeah, and I did mention it in your chats, but make a new email ID for everything which is USMLE, because it'll help you during your interviews also, because you will get interview invites in the middle of the night and you don't want your spam messages from your other email to confuse you with your important interview invites. So that, and make sure your headshot is your whatever display picture, profile picture. And I also used to include it in my signature. Like I had a small photo of my headshot in my signature line. So it helped me during my asking for letter of recommendations or when like being in touch with my residents.
Also, one extra thing additionally which I did was so Google like Gmail allows you to have an automatic forwarding email. So in case like you feel that your phone is not showing any notification or it's not showing up on your laptop, you can add an additional safety email. So whatever mail you get on your ERAS email, it will get forwarded to your other email as well. So like let's say your brother or your parents still have access to that, so they can still let you know if you are in an exam or you're otherwise busy.
Vikram, you can go ahead.
Yeah, one final thing about the LORs. You can personalize your LORs to the program. So if you have like 5 or 6 from different rotations, and some of them are like from a particular geographic area and you're targeting that area, it would be a good idea for you to upload those LORs for those programs if they're strong enough, that is, because programs really do consider that as a factor if you've worked in the area before and you want to continue working in that area. So that can give you a certain edge instead of having a blanket LOR for LOR selection for everyone. So if you have those excess LORs, try to do that. But if not, it's something that you can just skip over as well.
So yeah, that was like everybody has their experiences, and there were great insights on what to do and what not to do and the ergonomics of it. So yes, finally, Dr. Tejusv, could you please give us insights on the programs and how to select them and how to narrow down to proper programs?
All right. So as everybody said, it varies with different specialty, like how many programs you're going to have on your list. Whenever we look for programs, we always go to Residency Explorer. On Residency Explorer, we want to organize the programs by the number of IMGs in each program that have been taken in the last year. That's just a representation of how much the program is giving an interview to an IMG. Now, that's like a perspective of like how much you would want to go into that program, how much you want to keep them at the top of your list. And that could be a factor when you're considering which programs to apply for. Now, some other things that you would want to think about when you're talking about programs is like, what sort of profile do you have? Do you have a more of a community kind of like want to work in the clinical aspect profile, or do you want to have like a more of a research kind of profile? when you think about a research kind of profile, you have to think about the big universities. There are some community programs which do a lot of research, but that's only you find out when you like look at like different programs individually. Now, when you're looking at like the big research programs, most of them would be non-IMG friendly. Not a lot of programs which do a lot of like good research, or I would say like out of the world research, would not be IMG friendly. And these would be like our non-IMG friendly programs like the Ivy Leagues and WashU, MGH, Stanford. The most probable way that you could get into such programs is you have like a absolutely amazing research profile, which they would accept. If you have done some like Lancet publications, or if you achieve something out of the ordinary, that's probably how you'd get there. Or if you have worked with people who are already there, that somehow you'd get get an application there. Now, for psychiatry, MGH, which is Mass General Hospital, which is with respect to Harvard, they didn't even have signals for them. They just like took all the applications and then they decided if they want to see them or not. And they didn't even accept visas. So it was like there was no chance in like asking contacts to like put in a word for you. Now, there are some non-IMG friendly university programs like Alabama, Tufts, Boston University, where people and WashU, VCU, where people with like good, sunny downstate, sunny upstate, where people with like good research profiles can actually match into. Especially if you are doing like a research postdoc over there, it's very easy to match it to like a good university program. That is like where you're doing a research postdoc. Or like, for example, I'm right now working at Augusta University. So it was having like much easier for me to like match it. Now, there are like more IMG friendly universities, which, as I said, when you go on to your Residency Explorer, you'll find out all the programs there according to the number of IMGs there. And that's how you find out like if that's a good IMG friendly program or not. Always, when you're looking at types of programs, when you're looking to decide which program you want to go to, look at the psychiatry spreadsheet, ask your seniors, because there's a lot of things that are not there on their website. There's a lot of things that is on Reddit, that is on Discord, that like people talk about like what sort of program it is. Is it a toxic program? Is it a, are they malingering, or like what kind of program there is? And you would not want to go to a toxic program, even if it's like a big research university, unless that's like your final goal. Now, when we talk about like community programs, yeah, thanks, Apoorva. So when we talk about like community programs, it's like a good safety net, because, and how that works as well is because from KM, we are already coming from a perspective of like working in the community. So going to these places makes a lot of sense. They have good clinical experience. They do a good amount of research as well. And most of these community programs are well run by IMGs. Now, community programs that have like a good track record of fellowships, those are the ones you would like choose to go for IM. For psychiatry, I mean, for my community program, I had a specific role. They had like some specific nuances that I really liked about them. That's why I chose them. So when you go for community programs, that's some of the things that you want to look at. And the last one was like the pre-match programs. So pre-match programs are kind of sketchy. Like I know Mount Sinai, one of the Mount Sinai programs does Mount Sinai Elmhurst does a pre-match program for pediatrics. And if they offer you a pre-match position, Mount Sinai system is great. But unless like you don't think that you have good chances for anything else, I would not accept that, because kind of sketchy. You're an IMG, you got to look out for yourself. All right, so that's an overview of programs. Kasvi, you have something to say?
Yeah, you're right. Elmhurst has pre-match. I did get an interview from there, but I did not get an what is it called? Seat invite. Anyways, another thing that I wanted to say was pre-match offer. Sorry, right. Thank you. With respect to IMG friendliness, when you're looking at Residency Explorer, you will get a number. There will be some programs which have a huge IMG percentage rate, but if you go to see where their applicants are from, there might be places which a lot of them are just places from the Caribbeans or Spanish speaking, or a lot of people from the Middle East. So obviously those will be lower down your IMG friendly list. So make sure when you're researching programs in Residency Explorer, also look at where those applicants are from. Like when you scroll down the page, the very last section is where the current residents are from. So make sure you look at that as well if you have the time and resources.
Yeah, another thing to add to this, like Rhea and I actually made the IM list together. So, like, we had certain criteria that we wanted to incorporate in our list. So, when you're going through it, I think the easy way to do it is that you pick a geographical location and then you like go through all the programs on Residency Explorer and then see the IMG friendly programs. I would recommend going to the website, like, because if you're doing it with a friend and you've allotted like zones to each person, like go on the website of each program, see the requirements, because a lot of the time each program has different requirements. Like someone needs an IMCEL, someone's minimum score criteria is 240, like they're really like niche requirements. So that's something that you would want to look at for each program. That's one thing. It also gives you a good insight as to what program you're applying to, because it's just like gets a lot. So at least you have a basic idea and they're all not just names. And 3, you go through the resident roster so that that okay, they are mostly like people from India or Pakistan that have applied there. So that's a like Southeast Asian friendly program, because as Kasvi was saying, there are a lot of people who are maybe from the Caribbean and like places like Florida. They will be IMG friendly, but most of their IMG roster is probably like from the Caribbean islands. So that's one thing. And second thing, again, for the program list that I was saying was that okay, I have lost my train of thought. I will come back when I recall what I was saying.
Yeah, also about pre-med programs. So if you're applying to IM and if you are sure that you want to do a fellowship, a lot of the pre-med programs do not have a great track record for matching into fellowship. So keep that in mind as well.
Okay, got my train of thought. So some of the programs may not necessarily be IMG friendly, but if you know of a senior who's in the program, apply to it irrespective, because there's a high chance that they are keeping people from like KM in their mind when they're offering interviews. And like there'll be programs that like same thing happened with Rhea and I. Like the last 3 years, they weren't accepting any international students, but then we matched. So you never know when the tide changes.
Yeah, like
If you have a senior from that program, apply, no matter what the IMG percentage rate is, I think.
so Louisville had like 2 IMGs and in 74 residents. So some of our other friends who were not from KM who were doing the program search with us, they were like, but Louisville is not IMG friendly. And we're like, we know, but we have 2 seniors there. So we applied regardless. And most KM people end up interviewing with Louisville. So there will always be such programs where you think there are not enough IMGs because Residency Explorer or even the resident roster does not have a lot of IMGs. But if you know even one person, then it's worth it to apply. Even for like if you've done a rotation in a place that offers a residency program. So I rotated at Goel Health and they just take 1 IMG every year. And for the last 3 years, they've been taking that 1 IMG from one of the Saudi Arabian medical schools. So it's not IMG friendly by any means. On Residency Explorer, the IMG friendliness percentage is 9 or 6%, and cut was 10%. But I obviously applied because I had ties there. I had people to vouch for me there. So there will always be these few programs that are going to be IMG friendly, but you should apply regardless. So people forget about these things. I know some people who rotated somewhere and they did not end up applying there because it kind of got eliminated through the IMG percentage criteria. So make sure these things you are keeping in mind before applying. And yeah, like I said in the chat box also, I looked at like seniors from the last 4 to 5 years and like made a list of all the places that they interviewed from. So I had probably like 8 or 10 seniors, and I had the list of interviews that they appeared for. And I knew that these were the programs I definitely had to apply, even though like there were some programs that did not interview anyone for the past 2 years, but 3 years back someone had interviewed from there. So I was like, I will still apply to this place. So that's a good place to start. Even for signaling, that's a good place to start.
I also feel though for signaling, not necessarily that you signal all the programs. Like you can, if you want to, signal programs where your seniors have matched, but it's not necessary because sometimes you like it's a very double-edged sword situation depending on how you play it. Because sometimes if you know the senior is someone that is good enough in the program and you don't necessarily need to signal. For example, for Louisville, I didn't signal the program. It wasn't even in my geographic signaling, but I matched there. So, and it is a good program. So I would say that if you know someone who's recommending you, and again, as a lot of KM students end up getting a Louisville interview. So it depends. Like the signal is, if you know that, people are getting interviews, or you know that it's very tough to match there. That was my actually thing, because I was like, oh, Louisville is so tough to match. I don't want to waste my signal, so-called. So I never ended up signaling there, but then I matched. So I'm trying to say, I guess, is that signal is not a make or break for a place where your senior is already a current resident, is what I'm trying to say. So use your signals wisely is another thing.
Since you have started with the part of signaling, Dr. Sarah, I would like you to continue with the signaling process. Give an idea about what signals are, and then just we would like to know about how to use our signals wisely.
Yeah, so in internal medicine, there is 12 gold signals and 12 silver signals and 3 gold signals. So how I would recommend dividing these signals, and that's how I played the strategy. Obviously, everyone can add later on how they did it, is that use most of the signals in the places you've done your geographic preference from. Because what essentially happens is a lot of programs put geographic preference as a major filter. So if you've not put them in your region, you just get filtered out. So like your signal sometimes gets lost. So the ideal way to target is like a double hit strategy. Try to like align your signals with your geographic preference signaling, if you are doing one, is one point I would like to add. Second point, again, as I would like to add, is that if you know like a senior who is definitely vouching for you, is in good standing in the residency program, you may or may not signal that program. That's how I played it out. Like if I knew that if someone is recommending me, and also ask that resident whether like the program values signals or not. So certain programs don't really value signals. So then don't waste your signal on that program. Like you rather signal a program that actually values signals. So I think talking to like your seniors and your residents, like the seniors who are current residents, it really helps you play the signal game, I guess. Another way to target gold and silver signals, I used like 3 gold signals for like probably I would say 1 reach and 2 like mid-level, like what I knew. But most of my silver signals were to community hospitals because I wanted to play the safety net, because anyway, community hospitals, they have so many IMGs applying to them. So I think that they kind of tend to use signaling more, like they use signals more. So I would say like for the silver signals, you target community hospitals, and for the gold signal you can probably do 1 or 2 reach which you feel is like above what you are hitting, but it should be IMG friendly at the same time. But yeah, I think that's how I played it. Anyone please feel free to add if I've missed
Dr. Apoorva, you have something to say?
Yes, I agree with like what Sarah said. So when you are applying to programs and you like, and if you have a connection or a contact within the program, always make sure to ask them whether the program would value a signal or not. Because sometimes some programs explicitly want a signal, and if you don't signal them, then even if your connection is vouching very strongly for you, they will not give you the interview. Also about how to divide signals. It of course depends a lot upon your comfort level and your risk approach. But a good goal to have in mind is that ensure that you could at least score 11 or 12 interviews out of your signals, or at least you can be sure that even if you're not signaling a program, they're going to interview you. At least like try to aim for 11 or 12 interviews, because the most consistent factor in matching is the number of interviews that you have. Obviously, your interview performance matters a lot, but that's not easily quantifiable. So the number of interviews you get can make or break your case. And also, like the strategy I used was like for my 3 goals, yes, 2 were reach, 1 was target, and out of the other 12, I would say I had like 3 or 4 safeties, as in the programs which I knew would at least interview me, and the rest were targets in the sense that also like safeties are the kind of programs who would interview you, but you are not likely to rank them very high, but you still would not want to miss out on those interviews if you don't get anything else. So yeah, it was like 2 to 3 reaches, 4 safeties, and rest were targets.
So yeah,
that was my strategy. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everybody has their own. So
yeah, those were great insights on the new game of signals that is playing a big game in many residencies. So now next on to the main point of personal statement. I'd like to again invite Dr. Tejusv to give us the insights on the personal statement and how to frame it and how to go about it.
All right. So personal statements, there should be 2 personal statements that should be a personal statement you should have already started working on if you're applying for electives. That can be a very normal personal statement. Just talk about why you joined medicine, talk about a bit of your story, like what makes you motivated to do, be a part of the field that you're applying for, and talk about what the elective can help you learn, and then talk about why you want to do it in the US. It's a very basic personal statement. Now coming on to like a more important personal statement that you'll be working on towards your for your ERA CV. Okay. Do not plagiarize any other person's personal statement. Please do not do that. Do not read anybody else's personal statement before starting to work on your own personal statement. It has to be your own personal thing. It has to be your own ideas. Please do not copy anybody else's, because if you do, anybody can pick it up on it. Now, a lot of people try to start a personal statement with the quote. That is a good idea. If you're able to incorporate that quote in your whole story, that is fine. A personal statement should look like a whole story that is bringing together your own application, because one thing you need to know for sure is what you're targeting with your application. Are you targeting a community program, research program? What are you targeting? And your personal statement is your main opportunity to bring everything together. Keep it less than a page and keep it structured. Now, it can be a story. It can be in different parts. Okay, so let's talk about the structure initially. So as I said, you can start with a quote, or you could start with talking about how you got into medicine. Then you can start talking about what kind of like puts you in, then you can start talking about like a part of your story, like what brought you into this field, why you're doing this, talk about some of your experiences. In my personal statement, I talked a lot about like what experiences made me want to do psychiatry, what experiences pushed me towards wanting to do different types of psychiatry, like community psychiatry. And that really was like the, nail on the coffin that, okay, this is what my goal is. And as I said, it can be a story, it has to be structured, it has to include a meaningful experience that you're not talking about in other different parts of your application. ERA's application already has 3 meaningful experiences and 1 super meaningful experience that you might want to include there. So you can use some aspects of that in your personal statement, or you can add more stuff. Now, and then at the end, you like talk about like why you want to do this in the US and then what your future plans are. Okay. So as I said, you also want to address some of your red flags. Like if you have a failure in your record, or if you're taking 1 gap year, try to see if you can address it in some part of your application. If not, a personal statement is a good chance to talk about if you fail step 1, or if you had like a low score on a step 2, so what you like did to compensate for that. Okay, so that's that. I think the most important thing about personal statement is that you write it by yourself. You figure out what you're trying to portray to the other person. Remember that American grads are really good at doing this, and everybody who's applying for like a competitive specialty, they are pretty good about it. Run it by only a few people. That is what my advice was. That was given to me. Run it by only a few people who know you very well, and don't like give it to everybody on this planet, and like just a few mentors, and like ask them for constant feedback. I asked one of my best friends to look at it because they knew me very well, so like they could give me a lot of like personal feedback about things that I didn't even know about myself, and so that really helps. All right, any other questions on this?
Adding to personal statement, just a few things. Firstly, when we are saying it has to be a page, please bear in mind that the eras page is lesser than a Word document page. So when you say a page, it has to be a page on the eras application page and not on the Word page, which is I think at least 150 words smaller. That's number one. Number two, for personal statement, I feel is that it's very important to make sure that your personality is reflected in the personal statement, or your application has to be cohesive. Like your CV cannot say, like your personal 10 personal experiences cannot be saying one story and then your personal statement another story. So you have to make sure that whatever experiences you're including in the application and whatever your personal statement is cohesive. So I think that's another thing that to keep in mind. And then the third thing is, as Tejusv was saying, that get your personal statement proofread multiple times, because slight grammatical errors and a spelling mistake here and there, they're like big red flags. You don't want to be messing up something that is in your hand, or you don't want to be messing that up. Also, I would say do not use ChatGPT, because there are very rotten ideas. I know for a fact, because I have people who have used ChatGPT, and there are horror stories where the personal statement like collides, and then it's a big mess because the interviewers have been able to pick it up that it's from ChatGPT. The way to use AI, what I did was I used it on Grammarly just to check like grammar, and I think that's about it, how much you should be using AI for a personal statement. You can be creative. Obviously, if you need help, like I would say, send it to your seniors who've gone through this process, because I think they'll be the people who will be able to tell you. Because yeah, you can tell your friends and family to like proofread it to know what you are saying, but it also has to be seen from a lens of some as an application. So I think it's very important to send it to people who have gone through this process. That's what I did. I sent it to a few seniors who I've been in touch with, and they were very helpful. And also another thing, a lot of people will tell you a lot of things, but don't change the crux of your personal statement just because everyone is giving you feedback. Be true to yourself. Change what you feel. Like if you feel the feedback is something you want to incorporate that, but you don't have to take every feedback and incorporate it. That's not a necessity. And yeah, I think at the end, just make sure that your application is cohesive.
Yeah. Dr. Manan has something to share with us.
Yeah, I think personal statement is, I think, definitely probably one of the most important things you will have in your whole application. It goes right up with your step scores and your whole profile. So very important to spend a lot of time on it and have multiple drafts. Again, just it's best to have 2 or 3 people give you follow-up feedback rather than getting a one-time feedback from multiple people. Because again, it's a whole process. It's not just a one-time thing. You want to be able to follow up with those people who are giving you feedback. And the most important thing I felt for me, again, this is for me as someone who was moving from general surgery to psychiatry, and then also I had been doing a lot of other things in between. I was doing my bond, and then I worked in research for 2.5 years. I think that was the personal statement is the most important and the best way to address any of these conventional red flags that people might feel, because there is a story why you make all of these major pivots, right? So I think it's very important to get that story across, because otherwise you would come across as someone who's fickle-minded or who's just changing their life decisions on a whim, unless you explain the thought process of how that happened. And I think that was the most important aspect. And pretty much, I would say 1/3 of my personal statement was about my move from surgery to psychiatry and why I liked research so much. So I think it's very important to address any red flags, because I think most of the programs do want a very holistic application. They definitely want people who are good at what they're doing, but they also want people who are good, who have had different life experiences and are good colleagues. So I think that's just my point. Yeah.
Dr. Vidhi, yeah, please go ahead.
This may be an unpopular opinion slightly. While I agree that the PS is a very important part of your application, in most cases, it's not going to be like a make or break thing unless you have a, story of transition like Dr. Manan has. But in most cases, it's not going to be a make or break thing. What I have seen is that like 90% of personal statements are going to be great. 5% would be like red flags, and other 5% would be just incredible stuff like I worked 3 jobs to support my child, my siblings, whatever. So you have to make sure that your PS lies in that 90% where it's not making you sound weird or like an eccentric person, but also highlighting your story, your journey, and like it's coherent and also like corroborates what your application and your CV says. You don't have to think that, oh, I have to be really great, I have to make my PS better than everyone else. Your goal should be that my PS should reflect my personality and my application very accurately.
Yeah. I think Dr. Vikram had raised his hand, and we also have Dr. Pritika. Please go ahead, Dr. Vikram.
Yeah, I would say that one more resource that you could use when making your PS is having it looked at by somebody who is American by birth or has been in America for a long time. Because the thing is, we speak English in a different way and they might find it a little weird. So if you can run it by somebody who has been there for a long time and know what people want, that would be in favor. Obviously, you can correct grammar from Grammarly or any other source as well. But I think I had my PS run through a friend who was born in America, and he really gave me pointers as to how the sentences were structured, because I made them in a different way. And he was like, we don't speak in that flow over here. So everything you want to do it their way. So make sure that if you can, do it via a mentor or who has been there for a long time.
Dr. Pritika.
Yeah, I think a piece of advice that I think, especially since I think most of the audience is still more than a year away from applying, is that over the next year, you might, have your internship, you might be going for electives and all. During that time, just keep like an eye out for any like patient experiences or any experiences that stand out to you, and just make a note of them, because that will be super helpful when you're writing your personal statement and also during your interview. That's something I didn't do, but I really wish I had done. So just keep that in mind while you're going through your journey.
Yeah, so we had like a great span of all these suggestions, and I think every bit was covered from your experiences. Thank you to all these speakers. I'd like to go ahead to the next topic about the interview tips. Dr. Vidhi, could you please take that up? We would like to hear your experience about that.
Can you change the slide?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
So, like the first thing about interviews is, I would like to talk about scheduling it, because once you get an interview, it's such a happy moment. You're super excited. You're like, I've done it. I've got an interview. So I would suggest, mostly you will like the months you can schedule it would be November, December, and Jan. Sometimes October, but like I just had one interview in October. So I would say that keep your most desired programs for December and Jan, because you are gonna get interview nerves early on in the season. It's totally normal. Everyone gets it. So like the first 3-4 interviews, which might like if you give them at places that you may rank lower, that could serve as like a practice interviews for the interviews that actually matter more to you. So most of my the programs that I wanted to rank high, I interviewed there in December and Jan. And the ones that I knew I would rank them lower, I kept it in November, and that really helped me build my confidence. So like talking about the setup and all, this is like the actual setup I used for my interview. You can go with a blank wall, anything is fine. Just don't have a dirty room or like anything weird in the background and you're all set. All modern laptops have good enough webcams. For iOS users, I would suggest if you want the best possible quality, you can get a MagSafe camera mount. That way you can use your iPhone as a webcam, and like that's gonna be super crisp quality. And earphones, you can use AirPods, any high-end good earphones with decent mic. Before you give your first interview, I would suggest you take all this into account, your background, camera, what you're wearing, where you're sitting, and call a friend, call anyone and just have a 10-minute conversation with them. See how is it going? Are there any interruptions? Like you can also have a ring light if you want to. Just have the setup exactly the way you would for your interview and do a mock call, and that way you'll realize what things you need to change, what modifications you need to make. And some people say that you should look eye to eye in the webcam, but I always found that really awkward. Like I was not able to maintain that connection with my interviewers when I looked in the webcam, so I just looked at the screen. So I would say those niche details are not very important. You can, whatever feels more comfortable, how you feel more confident, that matters during interviews. So I think like that's all about the setup. And yeah, dress code, we all know it's formals. You should wear a blazer. Be well groomed. Don't look like you just woke up. For women, you can wear makeup if that makes you more confident. You don't wear it whatever you want to do. Just appear, be well groomed. You should look like a professional person who's just sitting for an interview. And I think that's it for the setup. Then now talking about the actual interview, you are going to be nervous. Everyone is going to be nervous, and they know that you are nervous as a candidate. But the real skill lies into like portraying a confident persona while your heart's pounding on the inside. So one thing I want to say is that do not have an imposter syndrome. I know it's easy to say it, but you have gotten an interview. It means they're seriously considering you as a candidate. They don't want to waste their time. It takes so much time and effort to organize an interview. They're not just going to give anyone an interview. It doesn't matter if you got it through a recommendation. If your profile doesn't really match the program's profile, you got an interview, that is your shot. And many people say that after you get an interview, that's the only thing they're going to factor in while ranking. But I think every program has like a different set of criteria. Most common, I would say, is that everything has a score. The interview has a score, your LORs have a score, your step 2 has a score, your USC research, everything has a score. And then they make a final score, which they use to rank. So don't worry that if I, make a screw up in the interview, I'm done for. It's not like that. Everything has a score, and you can compensate for a slightly below average interview performance. It's okay. But like the way you go about in an interview is that you have to appear a charismatic person. You should not be monotonous. Your voice should not be robotic. And one thing that mostly IMGs do is that whenever they are asked any question, they like start reading off their CV or start stating, this is what I've done, this is what I've done, which is important. But the interview is more to get across your personality to the interview. Like you have to make sure that they get it that you are going to integrate well into the American system. Like our residency and med school experience is very different from their experience. There's a lot of camaraderie and friendship among residents there, and you just have to appear like a warm and approachable person, someone who will be friendly with not just their residents, but their nurses, their other staff, their administrative staff, the attending. So you have to appear warm and relatable. And while at the same time, you have to display your passion for medicine or whatever field that you're applying to. The questions, most likely that I saw that there were like many questions about what questions get asked in the interview. So most common questions are just going to be like, why medicine? Tell us about yourself. Why our program? These are going to be like the standard questions, which everyone gets asked. I think Apoorva wants to speak.
Yeah, about the question thing, I would say like the most important question which you must have ready for any interview is like, why are you applying to your program? Which could be paraphrased that what are you looking for in a program? So like if you have a question answer for the format already, you just modify it to like, highlight the qualities that you know that their program has. And the second question is, what are your future goals? Always be ready to elucidate those goals. And if you are applying for internal medicine, but your application still has a bit of a subspecialty flavor with like more research in some subspecialty. So always mention that okay, your immediate goal for the next 3 years is to be the best internal medicine resident that you can be, and then just slightly hint that, but you also find this particular aspect of it very interesting. So you can have any sort of profile, but just be able to back it up when they ask you questions on it, and then you should be good.
Oh, yeah. So first, there are going to be like the general questions. Why I am, tell us about yourself. You should have a templated answer ready. Not a templated answer, but like a few bullet points that you can modify and talk about this, that these points should be there. Like for me, one of the things about my profile was that I'm a first generation doctor. So I made sure that I highlighted there some place that like my parents initially were very surprised when I chose this because everyone has a commerce background. So have some points that you really want to get across. Then there are behavioral questions, which are slightly tricky, like tell us about a time you made a mistake, or tell us about a time you had a conflict with a coworker, tell us about a time your patient was dissatisfied with you. Or they may be also like positive questions. Tell us about a time you really worked well with a nursing team. So for these questions, you have to, I think Manik Madan's or the Match a Resident website has a list of 200 questions, which I found really helpful. Like I don't think any weird behavioral question came that wasn't there in these websites. So I would suggest you do prepare scenarios for these because it's going to be really difficult to cook something up while you are being asked. You have to prepare, you have to think of what happened to you and make a coherent story that you're going to be able to present to your interviewer. And for each of these, make sure you are not going to be like scrambling for thoughts when you're asked these questions. And the most important question that's going to be asked at the end of your interview is, do you have any questions for us? And I think that's a very it's not a make or break part, but it is one of the ways you can convey your interest. So like a few days before your interview, you go to the program's website, you'll find out who your interviewers are. So read up on their profiles, read up on the website's profile, like do they have any extra tracks and all. Make a list of at least 10 questions, and not just 10 generic questions, but like 10 specific questions to the program that you can ask them. Like, for example, if your interviewer has done residency at the same program and now they're an attending there, you can ask them that, I saw you completed residency here. Can you let me know more about what made you stay here and continue your journey here? If the program has like a research track, you can ask more about how can I get into the research track. So make sure that you are not just asking generic questions when they ask you, what do you want to know?
So yeah, we have Dr. Sarah to contribute to this conversation. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think for interview, a few pointers that I have is that, say, someone, if you're wearing glasses and your ERA's photo does not, you're not wearing glasses, then don't wear glasses in the interview. Or if you're wearing glasses in the ERA's photo, then wear glasses because they have that impression of you from your ERA's photo. That's one thing I wanted to point out. Second thing I wanted to point out is during the interview, like, don't answer questions, like make it feel like a conversation. Don't be like, okay, this is your question, this is I'm gonna like answer it like, like in this particular order. Like, don't psych out about it, just make it flow. It's a conversation, they're just wanting to get to know you. And I think that casualness, if you will develop, will really help you in your interviews, because I think that's what helped me, because I just treated it like a conversation. 3-4 things that we tend to do, which are mistakes, which I would really like to point out, is let the interviewer finish their question. Do not interrupt them while they're talking, because sometimes you'll talk over them, and like it doesn't let the interview flow in the manner it should. Let them finish speaking. There'll be a 2-second pause is okay, but then you start, because it shouldn't be like they are speaking and then you're talking over them, because as an attending, it kind of gets irritating to them as well. That's one thing. The other thing that I would like to say is that when you're preparing for these questions, the questions you'll get online, as Vidhi was saying, that is a very credible source that matched the guy or 200 question list. I think we've all used it at some point. But the thing I would like to point out is that write it in a journal, like go through the questions, write pointers, don't prepare answers, like don't practice it verbally with somebody, but just write pointers in a diary so that you know that if this question comes, this is what I want to talk about. But don't, if you're someone who speaks English and is confident with speaking English, I wouldn't recommend practicing it with someone, because then it sounds very rehearsed. If you are someone whose English is not very strong, or you're not that good in communicating, then maybe practice it with a friend once or twice, but not beyond that. Like, don't make it like a perfect answer. It's not a viva, it's a conversation. So just let it flow as naturally as it can. I think these are a few pointers which people tend to make mistakes in. And of course, if there's any other questions, please feel free to ask us, you guys.
We have 2 more speakers to contribute to this. Dr. Vikram, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So like the speakers before me, making it sound rehearsed is probably the worst thing you can do. So for that, what I would say is try to practice with people if you don't have that confidence to make it seem like you're talking to somebody as if they were in the room with you. And one more thing I would say is if you have people that have interviewed there at an institute in the past, ask them about their interview experience, because a lot of the faculty might be the same that might interview you, and the questions that they might ask might be the same similar to what they asked in the previous year. Because some people I know like to ask you more about your research profile, while some try to gauge your personality more. So if you have somebody who has a prior experience of interviewing at a place that you have an interview from, try to get as much info from them as you can. And one more thing is, if you try to portray some things from your ERAS application or from your experiences in your interview, everything is up for grabs. They can ask you about, say, if you have an administrative experience which you're passionate about, they'll ask you they'll ask you questions for 5 minutes on that. So whatever you have in your CV or whatever you're going to speak about in your interview, make sure that you do not have enough material for you to not speak about it. And one last thing that I would like to add is, whatever you do, however much you prepare, there are always going to be curveball questions that are going to throw you off. So for that, you can't do anything except for maybe try to get people to ask you curveball questions in your practice interviews. For me, the most curveball question for me was, what do you not like about IM? I was like taken aback, and took me like 10 seconds to gather my thoughts and then start to answer. So for that, I think practice does help. And I think the variety of questions that you can get from people and try to see if you can answer them yourself will really help you during your interviews.
Dr. Apoorva, please go ahead and please tell us about your experience about this important topic about the interview process.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. Also, a lot of programs will now ask you behavioral questions, and sometimes they tend to be curveball. So a good strategy of finding some time to gather your thoughts is just to say, okay, that's a very insightful question. Do you mind if I take a moment to gather my thoughts or something? And that gives you some time. And a lot of the times the interviewers will be happy to let you have a few seconds to think about it. And then I would just advise just go spontaneously with it. Your brain will. If you have practiced well enough, your brain will make up a story which will be applicable to that particular question, and that should be good enough. Also, try to keep your answers in the time range of 2 to 2.5 minutes. Don't go too beyond that, because after that the interviewer will lose focus. But also don't keep it shorter than that, because then it wouldn't look deep or engaging enough. So and it's absolutely okay to practice your answers with a timer as well. Also try to get as many mock interviews as you can. It really helps you with your tone and how are you presenting during yourself and everything. And yes, about the regional ties thing. So yes, a lot of the times programs would want to know that whether you are actually willing to move to that area or not. Like and and sometimes they just ask you directly, okay, have you ever been to this place or something? Even if you haven't been to, that they try to make up a story like, oh yeah, I have this a relative who stays here, and I am looking forward to meet them like in May or April. Nobody's going to fact check whether he actually lives there or not. But it's a good way to show that that you are okay to be moving to that area. And a lot of people do this, so don't worry about like being the only person, or like that they'll know that you are lying or something. Nobody will know.
Dr. Kasvi, please add on your thoughts.
Yeah, just a couple more points to add, which brings me back to how to select your 10 experiences. The 3 meaningful experiences you select, make sure you can talk about it freely and passionately, because more often than not, they will be asking you about those 3 experiences, at least one of them from your 10 experiences. They want to know why you're so passionate about it and why it was so meaningful about it for you. So it can be anything. It need not be anything clinical too. For me, I had kept dreams as one of my meaningful experiences because that was something that I could actually talk about passionately. And they appreciate that you have a personality bigger than just medicine. So that is one thing. Another thing was, at the end of the day, they are interviewing you, but you are also interviewing them. Like you need to, as Vidhi said, your vibe check, like it's a vibe check. Make sure that they are also a good fit for you. It's not that, like, sure, you are scrambling for interviews at some point. You want your foot in anywhere will be okay. But when you're making your rank order list, just keep a note of how that interview felt. Just if you think you would be a good match there. And another thing was not just the interviews, but everything in between during that interview. When you're in your break room, when you're talking to the PC, when you're talking to your fellow applicants, they are keeping a watch at you and seeing how you are behaving or not. Like, talk to even the PC in a very nice, cordial way. Make sure you are amicable and you can talk to not just the attendants in a medical way during residency, but you can gel with everybody in general. So those are just some of the additional things I want to talk about.
Dr. Manan, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think similar to what Kasvi said, I think it's very important when you're writing your 3 meaningful experiences, and there's also a section of the most impactful experience. That should be something that's very personal and specific to you, and it should come across that you're passionate about that, because when you talk, when you're passionate about something, it becomes visible and your voice modulates better. So I think that becomes very important, and it does not have to be academic. For me, I think one of them was my experience with Nirman and how that made me realize and help me decide into psychiatry and move from general surgery. So I think they just have to be very personal, and you need to be passionate about them. They can be about your work experience for sure. I think 1 or 2 of them were related to my work. My research experience was one of the most meaningful ones for me as well. But I think they definitely want to know the whole of you. And also, it's very, especially when you're speaking to the program director, and if you're interviewing at any of the university programs, a lot of the program directors would have a reasonably prolific career, and they have their own profile on their websites. I sometimes found it nice to just ask them about their journey as well, just to get an idea about who they are and what their values are, because as pointed out earlier, you are also judging whether you want to be working with them or not. And again, I think it just shows that you've researched and read about their program. So I think definitely ask about the program and anything you want to know. But especially, I think if you're interviewing with someone like the chair of the department or someone who has had a good career and a prolific career, then you can actually ask them about them as well and what made them stay with the institute. If they've been for a long time, what are their values that attracted them to the institute, and see if that aligns with you. Yeah.
I also wanted to add one last thing. So, like, though you have to sell yourself the best during your interviews, you also have to be humble, especially during the behavioral questions. Like, you will most likely be asked a question in which you have to portray yourself in a negative light. Like, what's your weakness, or what's a mistake you made? What's a conflict you had? And the worst thing you can do there is like say that, oh, my weakness is that I'm such a perfectionist. I work so hard. Don't do that. Like, say an actual weakness, something that you really have, but instead of like focusing more on the weakness part, talk about how you've been working to overcome it, to what degree you've overcome it. Like for me, I had said public speaking, so I talked about how I joined Simpo specifically because I was very scared of public speaking and how that like opened me up. And though I'm yet not in a place like a perfect place, I have progressed a lot, and I hope your program, the grooming that I'll get at your program, will allow me to be more confident with that. So start with a negative thing and then turn it into a positive change.
Another thing I would like to add when you are interviewing is that always show excitement to be present at the interview. Like, tell the program that I'm excited to be here today, and I'm really looking forward to this interview or whatever. Like, in whatever small way you can, like, show that you want to be there. Like, you have to don't overdo it, but at the same time show your interest, that you actually genuinely like this interview and want to be here. Second thing, always keep your camera on. Like, even when you're put in break rooms or whatever, don't be like, oh, it's just the residents, no one's going to notice or whatever. The duration of your interview, you should keep your camera on, because they are observing how much you are listening even to others. Like, just like a simple head nod, or like, you shouldn't look blank like when they are seeing you, because they are observing you throughout the clock. So just small things like that, I think, is something you should be mindful of.
So, yeah, so everybody gave their insightful thoughts. I'd like to ask Dr. Pritika to tell us about the interview process is great, but the post-interview, what is to be done to keep in touch with the programs?
Yeah, so I think post-interview, it helps to just send like a thank you letter to the program, maybe mention a few things that you liked about the program, mention maybe something about yourself, something that you connected with, so on. Like I wrote in the chat also, it helps to like just, make a note of like anything that they share about the program during the interview. They usually start the interview with like a brief program overview. So anything that stands out to you, and anything you connect with. Yeah, and closer to match day, closer to when you're making your rank order lists and things like that, it does help, or at least it doesn't hurt to bail your number one, like your top choice, and just let them know that they are your top choice. And something important to note here is don't like you have to be truthful here. Like, don't send this to like multiple programs. Send it to your actual top choice. Tell them why they're your top choice, and also maybe sell yourself a little bit, like why you should also be their top choice, like just a line or two. And also they're super busy at that time, so that mail shouldn't be too long. Just a few lines is enough. And I think something else that might help. So another thing is, okay, now you've matched. There's a lot of paperwork to be done after this. Like, honestly, like before that, I wasn't even thinking about like residency paperwork. I was just thinking about the visa. But like, after the match, you keep getting all these checklists of like various like, what do you call them? Accreditations you need to do, and like things you have to do. You have to like think about, oh my God, I'm moving to a different country. There's like so many different things I have to do. So if you get the time before matching, you can maybe start preparing for like visa stuff, but honestly, I don't think I don't think that's really feasible, because you don't even know what visa you're going to get. So, I mean, you probably do, but it depends. Sorry, I think I'm I've gotten a little bit off topic. Everybody, I think, is still far away from like even applying. So I think knowing too much about the visa process is not really helpful at this stage. I don't think I cared about it until after the match, really. One thing you should know about is the difference between the J1 and the H1B visa. The main difference is that with an H1B visa, you basically get your pathway to permanent residency in the US faster. With a J1 visa, you have to either come back to your home country for 2 years after your training is completed, or spend 3 years in the US working at a J1 waiver job, which is kind of similar to our bond in that you have to work in like an underserved area, but you can't get it off just by paying. Another thing that's important when you're doing your visa application is to have your documents ready as soon as possible. Just like stay on top of those things. Like how during your ERAS application also get what documents you can before. Now, I had this experience where my passport is expiring in June this year. And I only applied for my new passport at the beginning of March. So, and usually I haven't had any issues with getting a passport, but this time I applied in Mumbai, and Mumbai passports especially take like, I don't know, for some reason they just like cause a lot of issues. So I finally got my passport just at the beginning of May, and that's also like, something that, can cause anxiety and cause issues. So just be prepared, I think, is my advice for you.
Dr. Sarah, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is just backtracking to the interview thing that I wanted to mention, is that when they ask you to like, do you have any questions for us, like how Vidhi was saying, and you want to ask the program a question, make sure you're not asking something that's on their website, because that really irritates them, and they will literally tell you on the face that's something that can be found on our website, and it just shows that that person has not even bothered to go through the website of the program, and that automatically becomes like a red flag. So make sure you don't ask something that's on the website, because that will irritate them. That's one thing. And the second thing I would say is regarding protocol post interview, there are lots of programs that are very strict about no emails post interview, and please respect that. Do not send an email to a program that has explicitly said do not send us emails. Like, that again will show that you are not respecting protocol and will irritate them. So if there's no explicit instructions, you can always ask the program coordinator and like send a thank you email or whatever, and always mention something from your interview that you have spoken with the attending, and mention that I loved speaking with you about this during my interview session. So like they know that you all have spoken about that. But if not, then do not do not send an email to the program, because it will just be against protocol. Yeah.
Dr. Apoorva, please go ahead.
Adding on to what Sarah said about the post-interview coming in. Also, like even if they don't have any policy, and if you're sending a thank you email, just keep in mind that you are like being genuinely grateful, because don't expect that thank you email to like influence things for you, because in most of the cases it wouldn't move any needle in your favor, but it wouldn't hurt you as well. That's only why you're doing it. And same for could you just pull up that slide about the post-interview communication?
Yeah, sure.
So the last bullet point, only mention your number one program that you are ranking number one, and also explicitly mention that you are my number one. Like, don't even say like very high, or cause that is still ambiguous and it will be seen as not number one. So no program wants to know that they are not number one. So don't say very high, just say you are my number one program. And a tip which I received from like previous residents was that, so a lot of the times the programs will start having the rank order discussions in the 2 weeks after the last interview date. Now, as somebody who has been invited to interview at that program, you will know when's the last interview date. So if you're absolutely sure that this is your number one, then please make a point of sending that letter in the next 2 weeks after the last date. Again, there is no guarantee that this meal will help your case, but it doesn't hurt either. So, yeah.
I just want to add to what he said that usually like the ideal time for sending the LOI is Jan end or like very early of Feb. But it was like halfway through Feb when I decided what my top choice is gonna be. And I thought that maybe it's too late, but I talked to my seniors who are there and they're like, just send it. Don't, it's not gonna harm you in any way, even if you send it late. So I did send it there, and that's where I ended up matching. So don't think it's late. If you are genuinely very sure that this is my top choice, just send them the letter. Don't think much about it.
Dr. Pritika, please go ahead.
And one more thing is just because I didn't know this, maybe I was unprepared, but the cost of the visa, at least for the J1 visa, is a total of $772 US. That's 65,000, which is not a lot, I think, compared to the rest of the USMLE journey, but still something to keep in mind because this is right at the tail end. So there's like $367 for the ECFMG application, $220 for the service fee, and $185 for actually booking your appointment.
Yeah.
Just those 2 points I forgot to mention.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. So, I think we have covered a lot about the interview process and the very details of everybody's journey and experience. Anybody else would like to just pitch in and
Yeah, I'd just like to conclude by saying that I know this journey is very long and very arduous, but we are all here to help you guys. I think like GS has a very strong alumni network, and I think y'all should, as younger generation, make use of that. Like reach out to your seniors, make your connections now, because if you develop that relationship now, it will help you when you are applying for the match, because nothing happens overnight. Like if someone doesn't know you or hasn't helped you in your journey, no one's gonna like vouch for you at the last minute just during the interview season. So I think it's very important to connect with people, and also it will just help you cope mentally with like the whole stress of the journey. So you'll just be and feel more supported. Please reach out to us if there's any way we can help you guys. Like don't hesitate to reach out, because at the end of the day, networking is very important in this USMLE journey. Like it's extremely important, and yeah, just be on top of it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think that's a great insight and a detailed insight on the last phase of the journey, like everything that is involved and the very details of everybody's experience. I think we, due to the paucity of time, we'll wrap up today, and all the speakers have been added to the session 3 group. So you can text your questions there, and the speakers will be pleased to answer them. So to conclude the session, I'd like to thank Dr. Vidhi, Dr. Sarah, Dr. Apoorva, and I think we have some of our speakers who left due to the time constraints. So thanks to Dr. Kasvi, Dr. Vikram, and Dr. Manan. So and Dr. Tejusv, his insights on program selection were great. So thank you everyone for joining in, and I hope this recording will be very useful for those who couldn't join in.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for the people who have been waiting and listening till the end, and thank you to our panelists for sharing your advice and suggestions. With this, let's wrap the session. I will be sending the recording once uploaded and stuff, but I think we can call it a night now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.